Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. How do we like our martial arts? We like them mixed!
Yes, we do. And there's just one more stop for the UFC on the road to UFC 285. And they don't have to travel very far from home base. In fact, they're right at home base, back at the UFC Apex for UFC Vegas 70, featuring a light heavyweight headliner, the return of a middleweight many believe is the next big thing, taking on a very game fighter looking to make his own move up the ranks, and the return of a fighter who looked to be well underway to becoming a UFC champion, only to be forced to sit on the sidelines for almost 4 years. As we welcome you to the live UFC Vegas 70 preview show here at MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck, happy to be joined by the wonderful wordsmith himself, Mr. Shaun Al-Shatti. Hello, sir.
What's going on, guys?
And Mr. No Gray Area, takes that are just so spicy,
Woo!
Mr. Jed Meshew. How are you,
Fight
buddy?
week, yeah! Oh my goodness, guys, this card's so good. Casey got me hyped up in the pre-show. Let's go.
Hey, Jed, we're down to 11 fights.
I mean, if we lost like 6 more, that would be great. We can get this to a tidy 5. This would be a pretty good event.
Yes, over the last 48 hours, we lost Jose Johnson versus Garrett Armfield, and then Brendan Fitzgerald announced at the weigh-ins that Haley Cowan versus Island Perez no longer happening. So we are at a nice tight 11 fights.
I'm actually a little bummed we lost the Jose Johnson fight. Not because that fight, like I super cared, but I did have a bet on Jose Johnson because he's like a foot taller than Armfield. And so it was just going to be really funny to watch that fight happen. So a little fight circus for us in the UFC.
Well, there you go. But gentlemen, it is great to have you here. Shaun, we'll start with you because, look, we're just being honest here. Most people are eyeballing next Saturday's pay-per-view, the return of John Jones, making his heavyweight debut against Cyril Gane. We have this go-home show, UFC Vegas 70, main event, Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. Krylov looking to make it 3 straight. Spann looking to do the same, but technically this would be looking for his 2nd straight win since, as he put it, actually training and giving a full effort. So thoughts on this main event at 205 pounds?
Oh wow, my internet suddenly got really bad. That's great. That's clutch. It's an Apex main event. I'll say that. It's not. I can understand why this is the main event, right? Because this is the full chaos clause in effect. We know what we're gonna get with this matchup. We're gonna get fireworks. We're gonna get something very explosive and probably ending very quickly. Like that's Nikita Krylov. Anytime he goes into a fight, you just can expect the weirdest, wildest thing possible. And then Ryan Spann, I mean, he's a true get got fighter, and especially now since apparently he tries now. So that's really helpful as well. So ultimately, like I can understand why this is the main event, right? Like this is just going to be a very fun fight. It would be incredible, frankly, if this isn't just a good fight to watch, an entertaining fight. But ultimately, that's not the draw of this card for me, right? Because for whatever this main event is, there are 2, in my eyes at least, 2 future UFC champions on this card, and neither of them are the light heavyweights who are headlining this. We're talking about Andre Muniz and Tatiana Suarez. That's the appeal of this card for me, is the return of Tatiana Suarez and the continued climb up this middleweight division for Andre Muniz, who is basically Jacare 2.0. I am here for that. So this weekend, that's what I'm tuning into.
Yes, and of course we'll discuss both those fights. But Jed, both these guys been sort of up and down over their last 6 or 7 fights. Both have 2 straight wins. Krylov 30, Spann 31. Both seem to be catching their stride in their athletic primes. Who do you think actually has more momentum heading into this fight, and who has more to prove tomorrow between these 2 gentlemen?
I think Ryan Spann has to have more momentum, right? And we talked about this on Between the Links yesterday. And afterwards, I thought about it even more. I was like, honestly, these 2 dudes really are the light heavyweightiest light heavyweights. Like they win a few, they lose a few. Sometimes they look good. Sometimes they inexplicably get tapped out by Paul Craig. Any number of things sort of happen with these guys. I think you got to go with Ryan Spann. I mean, but that's sort of Ryan Spann's whole MO, right? Like when he's winning, he's got momentum, and then he takes all that momentum and just dives off a cliff like a lemming. Like it's just, he he's all gas, no brakes. This man has no middle ground, and that's sort of also Nikita Krylov. But I don't know. This is a weird fight. I have no real idea what's going to happen. If Ryan Spann is like not bullshitting us, and he's actually trying now, and he hadn't his entire career before. One, I love that. I love that so much. It speaks to what a carnival sport this is. Like, I don't know. I just did it, and I was like pretty good at it, and now here I am, ostensibly in the best organization in the world, and I'm still not trying. Like, it's amazing. I love this sport. I can't wait for 30 years from now when MMA gets real people in it. We're going to have great fighters in that day and age. Until then, we get guys like Ryan Spann who have some talent and don't make an effort. And he might lose to Nikita Krylov, he's not a good athlete, but boy, does Nikita Krylov try hard. And this is a fundamental battle, guys. I don't think we're recognizing this for what it is. This is a battle of a man with limited talent who is going to work his ass off, and a man with lots of talent who will not work at all. And we're going to see which of these two things wins out. This is epic stuff, and I think we're selling it short by not appreciating the narratives at play here.
Jed, I think you just bumped the ratings up. I think you just got like 30 extra people to tune in for this main event. That was pretty.
That was incredible.
Good.
That was well
unbelievable.
done.
Shaheen, who do you think actually needs this win more? Could either of these fighters with a good performance get a bit of a promotional push with the win? Like, are there like high stakes involved? I know we got two ranked guys, and perhaps the light heavyweight title is on the line between these two guys, but can either guy like gain a lot here outside of just getting a win in the second paycheck and maybe getting a slot or two higher in the rankings?
God, a show or two ago, I had proposed some sort of like new league that we build with some rich benefactor where we give the legends retiring in the sport, we give them fights they're going to win against cans, but we also put like weird fake belts on the line for every fight. Why can't we just get that? I want the light heavyweight belt on the line for this because it feels perfect. I love the way Jed laid that out there. Like, that's promotion, right? That's promotion done well. Who's going to defend the light heavyweightiest title? Who needs it more is an interesting question, right? Because I think both men need it pretty significantly, right? Like, both are sort of on that same precipice where we view them one way, but if you do look at their resumes, like, honestly, their resumes are both kind of sneaky good. Like, you can sort of excuse the losses for Nikita Krylov. He has a few more than Ryan Spann in the UFC, but you can excuse them, right? Like Jan Blachowicz right before Jan was about to be champ, Glover Teixeira right before Glover was about to be champ, Magomed Ankalaev, and then Paul Craig, who just seems to beat people he shouldn't beat. Like, that's not a bad run through by any stretch of the imagination. And then Ryan Spann, same thing, right? Like, getting knocked out by Johnny Walker and choked out by Anthony Smith. Like, that's not bad when it comes to 9 UFC fights, being 7-2. Like, again, very sneaky good resumes. I think both are on that same precipice where a win in a situation like this, where you're the main event, and this should probably be a very fun fight again, kind of can bump you up into that conversation where all of a sudden we've been talking for a while about how wide open 205 is, and the fact that anything kind of happened in this division. I mean, we saw Jamal Hill go from like number 10 to number 2 or number 1 all of a sudden in our rankings, basically overnight. So anything kind of happened. I think a win puts either of those guys in that conversation with the same type of level of like a Johnny Walker conversation now, where you're maybe 1 fight away, maybe you're 2 fights away from fighting somebody that actually matters and someone who can get you somewhere in this division. So who needs it more? I think they both need it, frankly.
Jed, both guys can finish. Both guys have been finished a few times as well. Both right now in their respective careers appear to be on the trying train. And I feel like we're on the same page with this one. Like, if this one ends really quick, I feel like the headline will be MMA Fighting reacts to Ryan Spann's quick knockout. But if we get into 3, 4, 5 championship rounds, I feel like the narrative changes to Nikita Krylov just kind of beats the hell out of Ryan Spann. I think Kryl's just better equipped for the later rounds. Do you feel the same, or do you look at things a little bit differently?
Oh, I mean, he's better equipped for the later rounds, but this isn't going past 3. Like, this thing is neither of these dudes go to the scorecards almost at all. Like, this is a 5-round fight in name only, because we're not getting into rounds 4 and 5. Either Spann's going to knock him out or hit him with the gilly, or Krylov's just going to put a pace on him and Spann's going to fold. And it's like there are two outcomes happening here. I do disagree with Shaun, though. Neither of these dudes need this. This is light heavyweight. The rules don't apply to 205. Without looking, do you know where Nikita Krylov is currently ranked in the UFC's rankings?
Someone just put it on the chat, so I do know.
Oh, did they? That's brutal because he is number 6. Number 6 is that like I would have said 12. If like I was just like, Ryan Spann's 8. Like it's because he knocked out the husk of Dominic Reyes. He's 8. Like if Spann wins this, he's probably gonna be a top 5 light heavyweight. It's insane. It is absolutely insane. The winner of this is like Anthony Smith is fighting Johnny Walker. Like he's fighting back because light heavyweight's in a bit of a cluster. But like the winner of this can just realistically call out Jan Blachowicz for a title fight next. Like that's a very reasonable thing that could happen. So neither of them need it because frankly, the loser of this is still a top 10 light heavyweight according to the UFC. So it's fine. You can stay relevant in this division until you're 47. Just look at Glover. They're both doing okay, but the winner of this is like one fight away from a title shot. Burn this division to the ground.
They're both also like they're only like 30 years old, right? Like this is a division.
Oh yeah, they're here forever.
Men. Like they got a long way to go. They're going to be doing this for another.
They're not even in their primes yet, and Krylov's been fighting for like 15 years. Like we're golden. Neither of them need this. If you just hang around long enough. This is the same. We could have this exact same conversation about Jan Blachowicz like 7 years ago. It was like, he's sort of a top 15 dude because this weight class is trash. And if he just hangs around for long enough, he'll get a title fight. And look what happened. He did. That's how it went. Like, they're fine if they lose this. Just keep being here. The best ability is availability. And nowhere is that more true than women's bantamweight and men's light heavyweight, baby.
Oh, man. Shaheen, right now, Nikita Krylov is the minus 170 favorite. The comeback on Ryan Spann is plus 140. I do feel like this will be fun while it lasts, Shaheen. Who gets this one done?
Do the odds makers know that Ryan's trying now, though? Like, are they taking that into account? Because I think
that's baked into the price.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
I think that's baked into the price.
I'll go Spann because I think Spann's on a nice run right now. Again, sneaky good resume in the UFC, 7-2. Like that's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And the 2 he loses, I think those could anybody can get knocked out by Johnny Walker. I'll go Ryan Spann. I don't feel super strong about it. I think again the full chaos clause is going to be in effect for this fight for however long it lasts. It's a total coin flip, but I'll go Ryan Spann. I feel good about that.
Jed, what say you?
I'm going Ryan Spann largely because, well, one, if he's trying, he should win. But Krylov just is not a man who cares too much about his own health. And Ryan Spann's a pretty dangerous dude to be super reckless against. So this will actually be a really fun fight. Like for whatever I've said about it, this is a fight that I will be excited to go and like watch it happen.
I'm not fully. I wouldn't be.
That's a glowing endorsement.
Well, look, I mean, come on. Like a lot of other fights in this card, I am not excited to see happen. We're going to talk about a couple of them coming up.
Yeah, we're going to put the frosting on the cake here, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, I wouldn't be confident either way. I think this one actually probably could be lined a little bit closer, but it's not too far off. If I were a betting man, I'd be betting on Ryan Spann because of the perceived extra value, at least in my eyes. But, just a straight pick. I'll take a shot on Krylov, weathering the storm. This fight gets pushed into the second, early third, and then gets a takedown against a tired Ryan Spann, gets a choke of some kind, maybe a submission win. But
does Ryan Spann even get tired now? Does Ryan Spann even get tired anymore? If now he's trying, maybe he's actually doing cardio. Who knows?
But maybe he's like really, really trying, and he will really, really try for like 7 minutes until his body just can't try any longer, and he just gets tired.
I mean, I think that's frankly a really good way to fight. Just know your limits. I got 7 minutes in me. I'm going to give you hell for 7. If you make it to 8, we're done here. And that's okay. It's a good way to go about it. It's the Zabit corollary, only he did it for 10. Zabit had 10 good minutes in him, and then we were done.
Well, Jed, Shaheen mentioned his name earlier, but Andre Muniz is back. Co-main event, first fight since International Fight Week. I think you and I both have him ranked number 6 in our rankings. He faces Brendan Allen, who has looked really good as of late, a guy who has a skill set that if he can get on a roll and things come together, he could do some damage at 185 pounds. How excited are you about the return of Andre Muniz and this being the matchup, which, by the way, we threw out the light heavyweight title. This is for the undisputed middleweight title since Brendan Allen took that strap off of Krzysztof Jotko.
I dispute this. We talked about it yesterday. I just don't think if Andre Muniz isn't a middleweight, he's just good.
No, yeah.
Like he's just good. So if he beats Brendan Allen, I don't think he could be the middleweight. It just then Allen gets to defend the belt against. I don't know who, because we can't run it back with Jotko. Like you got to let that rematch build. I don't know who you do it, but when Muniz wins, he will just be middleweight contender Andre Muniz, not the middleweight. But it's dope. I honestly don't really remember the Uriah Hall fight all that much, and it feels like it's been a lifetime since I've seen Andre Muniz fight. So it would be cooler if he was fighting somebody who was going to get him closer to the title, but I suspect pretty strongly that a lot of those names above him are not too antsy to fight Andre Muniz because this man broke Jacare's arm. And if you could break Jacare's arm, I got to say, you got a real good chance of like breaking Jared Cannonier's arm. So he's awesome. I hope he gets to fight for a title one day. I would pick him to beat the current champion, but middleweight's weird right now because of that. But yeah, he's dope. I'm excited to see him back against a guy who's fun. Brendan Allen is very fun. This fight will also be fun.
Yeah. And look, if Andre wins the middleweight title, he could just throw it in the trash. He could just put it in his mantle and retire it forever. Or he could just hand it right back to Brendan Allen. He seems like a nice giving guy. He'll take the higher ranking spot and Brendan can have the
What's Kelvin Gastelum doing? What's Kelvin Gastelum doing?
He's fighting Chris Curtis.
Oh, that feels like a middleweight
middleweight title.
No,
that's a pretty middleweight fight.
Chris Curtis does not belong in that conversation. Come on.
Chris Curtis is pretty middleweighty if you watch that man fight. Like
I would push back on that.
Like what is middleweighty? Like good at things but not great at anything feels like the definition of middle. It's like middle. It is the middle. It's like not that athletic, but not huge, not like heavyweight.
I feel like it's more of a there. Vibe.
I mean, Chris Curtis doesn't have the same vibe as Krzysztof Jotko because no one does. Krzysztof Jotko is the undisputed GOAT of middleweight hood. But Kelvin Gastelum, Chris Curtis just hanging around that like middleweighty part feels okay to me.
Fair enough. It's funny that Uriah Hall has already
Jack Hermanson
and fought. Jack's a good one too.
Yeah, that feels right.
Jack Hermanson's pretty middleweighty.
Yeah, Andre Muniz back for the first time since July 2nd of last year. Uriah Hall has already switched combat sports and boxed a former NFL running back in that same amount of time, just to give you some sort of timeline of how long it has been, as one would do. But Shaheen,
it's a weird sport we do, guys.
It is. But Andre Muniz is coming back, gets a little bit of a head start on Dricus du Plessis, a week ahead of good old DDP, who's fighting Derek Brunson next week, taking on Brendan Allen. I feel like when we're talking about up-and-coming 85ers right now, it's a two-horse race. It's who's going to get there first, Muniz or DDP. How excited are you for this matchup? He's got to fight somebody, and Brendan Allen just happened to say yes, and I don't feel like a lot of guys ranked above Andre Muniz were clicking that pen to sign the dotted line.
Yeah, and I will say, I think one person we're leaving out of this middleweighty conversation is the king of all the middleweighties, which is Marvin Vettori. Like, I feel like he has to have some sort of say in this whole conversation.
No,
he's sort of the king of this ladder.
He's ascended. He is ascended to Valhalla of middleweight.
No, he's like the Shang Tsung on the Mortal Kombat totem pole. Like, he's up there. He's the boss.
He's the end boss, though. You can't just get to him. Like, he's at the end of the game. He is the middleweight.
Yeah, but I mean, Andre Muniz, to me, man, like to go back to what we should be talking about. it's unfortunate to me that this is the fight that we're getting for Andre Muniz, because this feels like the exact same. Like this actually just kind of feels like a step down, frankly, from where he already was. Like it's if nothing else, it's a lateral step. And it'd be one thing if he's a very busy man who has been, fighting pretty consistently, but he's not fighting nearly enough to be taking lateral steps in my eyes. Like, I know this isn't the type of a fighter the UFC will usually push pretty quickly up the ladder. Like, this is the type of Beneil Dariush guy who's going to have to take the slow road if he wants to get to the belt. But Andre Muniz to me is probably already like a top 5 middleweight, if not like, I think he could compete with the top 3. I think he would give Izzy and Alex both hell of fights. Robert's a little bit tougher of a matchup, but I think just style-wise, like he would give both those dudes pretty tough fights. I have so much confidence and belief in Andre Muniz and the potential this man has and just what he can become here at 185 if he gets the right path. And Brendan Allen, to me, for as, fun of a fighter as Brendan Allen is, and he still has a lot of potential, Andre Muniz should be fighting more upwards than this. But maybe this is the fight that he needs to sort of reintegrate himself back into the division. As you said, Jed, it's been a long time since we've seen him. It's been almost a year at this point. That's real unfortunate for a person who I think a lot of us feel like is probably the top prospect in this division. So hopefully this is sort of the one that can launch him, leapfrog him into that conversation where we're talking about real, actual, main type of fights with Andre Muniz, because again, I have so much belief in this man's potential. You go out there and you break Jacare's arm, even if it's an old man Jacare, you cannot overstate how impressive that is. This man to me is Jacare 2.0 in this division, and I just can't wait till he's in the real conversation rather than this sort of thing.
Oh, don't put that evil on him. Jacare 2.0 never fought for the belt. Jacare never fought for the belt. He needs to be something better.
But he was a Strikeforce champ. Like, he had good opportunities. He just got to the UFC a little late, and he was kind of a little old by the time he got to the UFC.
And the middleweight division was dumb, and which is what it currently is. And it's currently very dumb, and that's why Muniz is fighting unranked Brendan Allen, and DDP is getting Derek Brunson and like moving to number 5. This is I hate the Jacare comparison because it's really apt and might be apt in ways that are very unfortunate for us all.
Jed, do you agree that, like, look, in terms of ranking and name value, Brendan Allen is a step back from Uriah Hall, but in terms of like skill set and who the better fighter is, I feel like Brendan is is a better fight to answer more questions about Andre Muniz than the Uriah Hall one. At least to me, I feel like this is a tougher fight than the Uriah one. In that sense, if we're trying to just build him up, maybe not again in ranking and name value, but in terms of competition, I don't think this is a step down in terms of competition.
I don't know. I mean, it's really hard. Brendan Allen's certainly a more consistent fighter than Uriah Hall, but Uriah Hall is a wild card, or at least has been through his career. I mean, dude floored Gegard Mousasi when Gegard was probably at the best that he has ever been. So this fight doesn't appeal to me too much on the merits. I mean, it's a quality fight. Brendan Allen's a fine fighter. I think the things that Brendan Allen is best at, I think Brendan Allen is a good grappler, and that's like where he makes a lot of hay. He's probably a better striker than Andre Muniz, but I kind of just don't think that matters. And it's like, okay, well, you can't really play on the ground with Andre Muniz. That just isn't a path to victory here. So it kind of feels like we're learning the same lessons. Albeit maybe Brendan Allen's a little more consistent. Yeah, I would prefer to see him face somebody else, somebody who, okay, like Derek Brunson would have been a very fun one. Like, what happens if you can't, Andre Muniz, if you can't get your wrestling going at all, or if you just get taken down repeatedly, like how do you fight in these circumstances? I don't think that's what we're looking at here. But I'm happy to watch the man work.
Yeah. He's going to fight either Jack or Manson or a guy like Sean Strickland after this fight. So I think he's going to get a step up in ranking and name after this. But anyone picking Brendan Allen here, gentlemen?
No
way.
Anyone picking Andre Muniz by finish?
I am.
I am.
I like Brendan Allen. I
I
think he's really tough.
I think he learned some lessons from the Uriah Hall fight where he more or less spent 15 minutes just hunting for a submission. And I think he got sort of like, this is a step backwards because of that. I think the UFC doesn't sort of look kindly upon a performance like that. I think he probably learned some lessons from that.
Yeah, I think Brendan Allen is just a different kind of grappler than Uriah Hall. I don't even know about the lessons learned. I hope he did, because you can't just play backpack and try. Like, that's just not that's like the biggest issue with like Muhammad Makayev and Mackenzie Dern, just playing sub games instead of punish games. But I also just think Brendan Allen will be far more willing to put himself in danger to pursue escapes than Uriah Hall was, which will not work out for him in the slightest. So I think Adrian Muniz gets the finish.
It's a really good point. I'm picking decision. I think this fight's going to be fun. I think Muniz gets it done, but I do think Allen's going to test him a little bit more than the betting line suggests and most people suggest. But that's why they fight. I could be dead wrong. Muniz could just go out there and club and sub him and get him out of there real quick. But let's talk about the return of Tatiana Suarez, Shaheen. By the time this woman fights tomorrow, it will be 1,358 days from the Nina Nunes fight.
And good stat.
Is that a lot?
Rabid.
That seems like a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of days. I wasn't even working for MMA fighting by the time she last fought. I was like a year away from that happening. So that just tells you how long ago that was. But
Shaheen didn't have a kid. Shaheen didn't even kind of have a kid. Like, well, that wasn't even in the ballpark of a kid.
Yeah. I mean, there was no pandemic. There's nothing. I mean, so much has changed. We could do this all day long, but this is the woman who's just been ravaged by bad luck and injury after injury. And now she's back 125 against Montana De La Rosa. Shaheen, I think the matchmaking here is absolutely spectacular because Montana De La Rosa has 0 Fs to give. She's going to go right after Tatiana Suarez. She doesn't care who she is. She ain't afraid of her. She's going to get it. She's going to go in there and she's going to try her hardest to get a win. Probably not going to work out too well for her, but she's going to go after Tatiana. She ain't going to be scared at all. So I think this is perfect matchmaking. 1,358 days, Shaheen. Tatiana Suarez finally coming back. Love this matchmaking. Where are we at with this? A little more than 24 hours away from it.
God, that's so many days. When you contextualize that like that, it's just crazy, man. You're right. That's pre-pandemic. I think that's like 2 John Jones arrests ago. Like, God, it's a long time, man. It's a really long time. I like the matchmaking. I like that you almost like smirked, Mike. You couldn't hold it back when you were like, she's going to try really hard, because I'm sure she is. But I feel like we all know sort of what this is, right? Like, this is a warm-up fight. Like, this is a comeback fight to, hey, let's get your feet wet a little bit and before we throw you into the deep end with the Sharks. Because Tatiana Suarez, before she left us, before we had this long layoff, I don't think there were 2 or 3 women in this game that people were high on, or more high on than Tatiana Suarez. Like, she was getting called the female Habib. She was getting called all sorts of just like everyone was prognosticating her to be a future UFC champion. And if you just go back and watch what she did to Carla Esparza, I was there that day. I think that was Dallas. That was probably the Darren Till card, maybe with Tyron Woodley. That was unbelievable to watch. She took Carla at her own game and destroyed her with it, like surpassed her on a completely different level. We always hear there's levels to this. She was like 4 levels above Carla when it came to the wrestling and ground and pound and just all of that. Like, it was a masterful performance over a woman who eventually went back to regain her title using that strategy, more or less. We're not going to talk about the Rose fight. So Tatiana Suarez, to me, if I picked her on one of our shows earlier this year to be someone who's going to be a champion by the end of the year. If she, it's just a matter of health for her. I still fully believe if she is able to stay healthy and compete consistently this year, like, this might be the year we finally see it happen. Maybe that's foolish. Maybe that's silly to say, considering her history and just the fact that we haven't seen her be able to consistently compete for so long. But man, if we can get a healthy, complete Tatiana Suarez back in here, like, this makes the women's divisions, so, like, which are already right now, like 125 is very interesting. Whether it's 125 or 115, whichever direction she wants to go, it makes it so infinitely more compelling just by injecting her into this mix. Because I think she could beat either champion if she's right. If she's on her best day, she could just become champion in either division she wanted to right now. That's how highly I think of her. Like, we were calling Muniz Jacare 2.0. Like, Tatiana Suarez is Carla Esparza 4.0. Like, she is just bringing a level of wrestling and ground and pound and just submission mastery to this division, or grappling mastery to this divisions that just does not exist right now. And I'm really excited for it. I hope this is the one. I hope this is the real time where we get her full, where we get her healthy and able to compete for consistently.
Jed, in a 7-day span, we could see Tatiana Suarez fight, Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight, and John Jones freaking fight. 2023, just a wild year, is it not? Tatiana Suarez coming back. This is such a big deal. This is the most interesting storyline of the weekend, is it not? Suarez coming back. Like, this is what most people are focused on, I think.
It's a good question. I don't know. Maybe. I gotta say, it's not that interesting to me. Largely because I have zero doubts that she's going to look just as good, if not much better than she did before. She's going to run right through Montana De La Rosa. And it's just going to be business. Like, we're just going to be right back. We're going to be, we teleported. We all talk about how COVID feels like we lost a bunch of years and time just sort of moved quickly. And it feels like that. It's going to be like that. It's like, oh yeah, like, sure, she missed 4 years, but whatever. She's now the number 3 fighter in the world. And let's just run her into a title fight. It'll be great. So there's not a lot of intrigue for me here. I am, I guess, interested because I will always be interested to watch Tatiana Suarez work. But look, she's a female Khabib. Khabib's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I love Tatiana Suarez. I love watching her fight. She's going to beat the hell out of this woman. It's going to be great. And then it's on to getting the title. Let's go.
Do we have a low-key banger here, Shaheen?
Oh, I mean, that Ode Osborne Charles Johnson fight looks pretty nice on the prelims. If I have to pick one, I would say that. Also, the Mike Malot's interesting, right? Like, I'm interested to see how far this guy can take it, and he's a good backstory as well. So I would say those two for me.
Yeah, it's been a minute for him. 10 months. I think that Mickey Gall fight was the last time he fought, right? And he raised all that money. That was a pretty cool story. Yeah,
that does sound right. Yeah,
that was a minute. And Johan Lainez likes to throw bombs too. Canada versus Canada in that fight. Jed, what stands out to you that not a lot of people are talking about?
Canada versus Canada. If we're just going for banger and entertainment, Eric Gonzalez, Trevor Peek. I don't know if you guys ever watched Trevor Peek fight. I don't know that he's good. I have a sneaking suspicion that he's probably not. But man, he's coming to fight. That dude is not here to get paid by the minute or to give a single F about anything. He is going to scrap his ass off for every minute that he possibly can. It's resulted in him having like 6 first-round finishes and then a second round or something like that. The man's never seen the third round, and if you watch any of his fights, you can understand why almost immediately. And I have no reason to believe that he will be anything different. And Eric Gonzalez is probably just going to get knocked out. But either way, he's going to have to fight his ass off because that's what Trevor Peek does.
Yeah, I mean, those are all the picks. I am interested to see how Jasudavicius. Yeah, I mean, those are all the picks. I have nothing more to add. Jasudavicius coming back. Gabrielle Fernandez is a really good fighter. She's been killing it over in LFA. She likes to in there and finish fights. And Jazz had a tough go in her last one, so curious to see how she bounces back. And if she wins, the way she will promote herself after the fact will be a lot of fun to watch because no one will promote Jasmine better than her. She's been killing it on the social media game lately and putting out some good content. But that's a tough fight for her, so we'll see. I guess, Casey, do we want to take a couple of questions? We can take a couple. We have a little bit of time. Yeah, we do have another preview show coming up immediately after this. Talk about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury. So stay tuned.
Are we not going to talk about the best fight this weekend?
That's right. Yeah. We didn't talk about the Duff Man. He's back.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about the Duff Man.
No, I thought you were talking about
also, there is the Duff Man.
Well, we got that.
We
got Bellator 291.
Yeah.
Bellator
291. I feel like we should at least talk about that.
Yeah. Yaroslav Amosov versus Logan Storley. Great
I'm
fight.
no longer willing to say it's a better card, Casey.
Better.
When the
How
UFC
about
was-
better main card? I understand that it's different structures. You don't have to watch every.
when the
Bellator fight.
when the UFC was rolling out 13 fights, I was willing to call Bellator the better card. Bellator has twice as many fights now. I'm not. It's tough, but it has the best fight of the weekend, like bar none.
Yeah, but it's got to be paced like a BKFC card to start. It's just got to be boom, 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 boom. Half these fights, like look at these fights. Look at the matchmaking. Look at the Irish fighters are fighting. It's for the most part, it's like minus 800 favorites are just going to go in there and crush in 90 seconds. And then by the time Thompson and Amanda Guerra finish talking, the two fighters for the next fight are already going to be in the cage getting announced by Michael C. Williams. So 18 fights are going to fly. 13 of them, if they do all of them on the prelims, they're just going to go boom, 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 boom.
It's wild. Like if you're in the arena, they don't
It's
even
the
do,
most
they don't even do
transparent
walkouts.
garbage.
I mean, the Irish crowd alone will make that the best experience of the weekend.
For sure.
As media members, we're not covering those early prelims for Bellator. It's a different thing. It's for the hometown kids. Those type of fights. But
I mean, maybe there'll be a good sick little finish. Like I'm happy
there'll be
Norbert
crazy
Novenyi
finishes,
is coming
but
back.
Yeah.
No, there's some good solid fighters on it. Magomed Sharapov's back. Norbert Novenyi Jr. is back, who hasn't fought in like 3 years, but he was one of the best up and coming prospects in the sport before he got injured and COVID happened. So yeah, I mean there's some good little storylines on the prelims.
And also, how about
and some squash matches.
yeah.
Oh,
Lots
there'll
of
be
squash.
plenty of those. Probably both of those fights that I just mentioned. Picks for ONE FC. Who's main event? John Lineker, Fabricio de Andrade. Hopefully this goes clean. We don't have to feel pain watching a replay. Who's got a pick here? Anyone picking John Lineker to get this done? Anyone picking Fabricio de Andrade to get it done?
I'd pick FDA. Just
Same.
He wasn't beating the hell out of him, but he was winning that fight before the low blow. And you can't ever count John Lineker out because that man is tougher than a $2 steak and he chucks hammers. But right, we saw this fight very recently, and even though the finish was odd, we didn't get a definitive finish. Feel like we could kind of extrapolate from that who the better fighter in that fight was.
Yeah, I agree.
I got Lineker all day.
I love it. I hope just fire rib roasters.
Yeah.
Let's go.
How mad is Jed that Darren Till is still 15th in the UFC's rankings?
That says everything about middleweight.
I think it speaks more to Darren Till and his incredible ability to fail upwards. Just one of the most heroic upward failures of all time. Him and Kelvin Gastelum just doing it big. Yeah. Who has he ever beaten?
I don't know that you can throw Kelvin in that. I feel like Kelvin has the legendary fight with Izzy. That alone is like infinitely more than Darren Till has been able to put forward.
He lost. He lost that fight. It was a
Sure,
great
but
fight. He lost.
it was
We were
amazing.
there.
It was
It
amazing.
was a great fight. We were there, Cage. That was amazing. Who has he beaten? Other than blind, old Michael Bisping, who has that man got a win over?
Darren Till? we talking about Kelvin Gastelum? Who
No,
we
I'm talking about Well, the question goes for either of them. Darren Till's best win is old Donald Cerrone. I have said this on this program, on some programs here before. His best win is Donald Cerrone, which is just bad. Yeah, it's just not what you want. That to be your best win.
But Darren Till is so good on the mic. That's all that matters. That's all that matters in this sport.
Yeah,
So is
sold a
Dricus
bill of goods.
Duplessis.
He's so
He
good
sold
on
it.
the mic.
You guys are-
The whole fighting
Yeah, but-
part is so not important.
You guys
I don't
remember
know why
when
you're
Darren Till was going to be a 3-weight world champion? I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers when Darren Till was like, I'm going to win welterweight and middleweight, and then I'm going to win light heavyweight. And his
was
best
the
win
favorite.
remains Donald Cerrone.
He was the favorite in the Woodley fight. Everyone was picking him. I remember that.
Was, and then he got killed.
Wait, who won between Darren Till and Kelvin? I can't remember.
They haven't fought.
Oh, they haven't
Oh
fought.
no,
yet?
they did fight.
They
No, they
definitely
did fight.
It was Darren's like
Till won,
Darren.
didn't he?
Oh, Till won like a bogus splitty. He won like a bad
Yeah.
split decision over Kelvin Gastelum. That's right.
Yep, I was there for that. That was
It was a bad fight, right? Was it a good fight?
That was a fight.
No, it was
not
a bad fight.
It was a fight.
It was a fight. It
It was
sure
a fight.
was.
All right. Okay.
That was the co-main event of that card, wasn't it? Of 244 before the BMF title fight. I think that was the co-main event.
Oh, jeez.
Good God.
Yikes.
What a dumpster fire of a
Yes,
of
it was.
fighters.
Yes, it was. Man, that's a hell of a card. Looking back on it, you got Derek Lewis, Blagoya, Vinov on the main card. Also another split. Stephen Thompson, Vicente Luque. That was
That was a good fight.
That fight was fun.
That was Steven
Okay.
just kind of outclassing Luque, though. I don't remember if it was fun or not.
It's still it's fun to watch Stephen Thompson be good when people aren't like just tackling him to the floor and beating the hell out of him.
Okay. I think this is why people like Darren Till, because like we don't remember the actual fight, but like we remember the theatrics around to get to the fight. It's just a weird. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
On both sides. On both sides.
Yeah.
Remember the Kelvin Gastelum weigh-in with the towel?
Oh,
Could've been some fingers
he
up
put
there.
he put the elbow on Cordero.
Yeah, the elbows.
he-
That's what it was. That's
yeah,
what it was.
he got away with one. That was good.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he
Well,
did.
good for you.
Yeah.
I was there for the weigh-in, and I took a picture. I didn't even realize it until I posted on social media, and everyone like retweeted. I'm like, why is this one random photo getting so much play? And then I took like the perfect photo at the perfect time with like the correct angle, which never happens to me ever with anything. And I was like, oh, this is pretty strange and interesting. So yeah, that was a weird fight. And Till did land on Friday in fights. He did a media scrum like right after the weigh-ins, like the ceremonial weigh-ins. And I'm still waiting for the Mark Kerr movie. Rock, what's going on here? Because you announced that day too.
Oh yeah, he did the whole thing.
I remember that.
He did the whole. Is it in production? How far?
You have not heard a crowd go more mild than that crowd. Oh my God. What, there were like 3 people there that knew who Mark Kerr were.
But he did the whole "Can you smell what I'm cooking" thing or whatever he does. Or,
Man.
Can you smell what I'm cooking?
What is the line? I don't know.
If you smell what the
That
Rock
should
is
be the
cooking,
line.
grab the mic.
That
and
should
did
be
it.
the line.
Yeah, that was
You
tremendous.
smell what I'm cooking.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Do you have anything
guys.
else? Yeah, I mean, we can't top that.
Can you smell what I'm cooking?
Do we take a single question about the car? We took a one FC question, and then Darren Till's being ranked number 50.
Are there questions about the card?
Can we
I mean,
talk
we
about
gotta
Todd
answer
Duffee?
it. I mean,
Because Todd Duffee is fighting Phil DeFries this week.
I mean,
Could a title eliminator be on the line for the winner of this main event? Maybe.
yeah. I
there'll
mean,
be one
ranking
fight
wise, yes.
There'll be one
Right.
fight away, probably.
I wouldn't bet on it, but I think a title shot, no. But title eliminator, like if Ryan Spann just obliterates Nikita Krylov and then calls out Ankalaev or Blachowicz for a title eliminator, like that's legit. From the ranking standpoint, it will be legit. And like, who else are they running out there? Like, we're probably gonna wait for Yuri and Jamal for I don't know August or something. Then you got to get next man up. So.
I mean, that Johnny Walker fight too with Anthony.
Yeah.
I just think it's what a great world this will be if somehow we have Jamal Hill in the main event against Ryan Spann for the title. Just like
Be incredible.
A fight that would have been an Apex fight like 3 months ago.
that's like a couple years ago. That's like maybe the first fight on a Apex, not first fight on the main card or something. But yeah, some Tatiana questions.
The Duff Man?
The Duff Man.
The Duff?
The Duff Man, Shaheen, wax poetically about the long-awaited return of Todd Duffee, who, by the way, could find himself ranked on the MMA Fighting Global rankings.
No,
0% chance.
Isn't Phil DeFries ranked in our rankings?
I think he's like number.
I think
15.
he's a far.
I think I am the one keeping him as a Favre because I definitely have him ranked.
I think he's in mine too.
Yeah,
I think he might be 15 for like a few people, but he's
you
not
have him in
actually-
15. I have him in 14, and Casey has him also in 15. Oh no, Mike, you have him at 13. AK has him at 15. So he's got enough to be there at the back end of the rankings. This is one of those scenarios. If Todd Duffee wins, then KSW won't have any ranked fighters, is what will happen.
And the legendary title reign of Phil DeFries. How long has this man been the KSW heavyweight champ at this point?
1,000 years.
He's got to be on like 8 title defenses.
Hold on, I'll count this up, but it's
April of 2018.
So he won in 18, yeah.
And he's been very active.
Seven title defenses.
Look at that.
This will be his 8th.
Todd Duffee going for history, gentlemen. History.
Well, you could have guessed that he's been here, like the champ, for a while if you just know anything about the sport, because this is what happens when you have a guy who's beaten everybody. It's just like you drag up dudes he's lost to 100 years ago. And it's like, all right, you remember when Chuck Liddell got to fight?
This is Phil DeFries' Alex Pereira arc. This is what this is.
It's just it's just absolute nonsense of we don't really have anybody else for him to fight, so let's drag old Todd Duffee out of here.
Oh, dude,
Todd Duffee
gonna look great.
DeFries gonna calls out John Vellante. We can redo this whole thing that should have happened for.
Oh, John Vellante's coming out of retirement too.
Yes, that's the matchup. That's the dream fight.
And
if he wins,
then after that, who comes out? The cop dude, who's the guy that knocked out Duffy. Was it the cop?
Gan McGee?
No,
that's not.
Oh, what was that guy's name?
Who's the cop who knocked out Todd Duffee?
Was he a cop? The
Mike
pre-park reporter.
Mike Russo.
Mike Russo.
That
was it.
Before we had
man, I forgot about Mike Russo. Can we do a damn on Mike Russo?
Was that the doink? Was that the doink knockout? Yeah. Okay.
Point. Yeah.
It's man. Todd Duffee is responsible for maybe like the 3rd or 4th best photo in MMA history. Him throwing that punch against Frank Mir, where his arm, he's throwing a right hook and his arm is literally just this way and his left is over here and he's just diving at Frank Mir. It's one of my favorite photos. It's like Randallplex photo, Todd Duffee. Just the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That Frank Mir fight, that's like, you will not find a more special 73 seconds. Like that is that is a real piece of MMA art forever, you know? Like hang that in the Louvre. Like that's just tremendous.
That was like a random Wednesday or Fight Thursday night card, wasn't it?
San Diego, I think. Yeah, it was like that day. Yeah,
it was a Wednesday night. That fight was insane. God. Absolutely insane. Josh Thompson, Tony Ferguson was the main event, co-main event, and Holly Holm, Marion Renault. Was that Holly Holm's first fight on that card?
No, second fight. That was her second fight because she fought Pennington her first fight.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh man,
who knows what these
glory days of Tony Ferguson? The glory days of Tony Ferguson. What a wonderful time that was.
We had to bring up Tony Ferguson, huh?
Hey man, he annihilated Josh Thompson. That was nasty.
Yeah. All right.
I wish I could put this photo in the YouTube chat so people could see it in case they haven't. God, it's the best. The photo of Todd Duffee. I put it in our Slack.
I'm sure if you Google Todd Duffee,
it's the best freaking photo. It's the best freaking photo of all time.
Oh my god! You know what? I haven't seen that photo in a while.
That man's a professional fighter.
Oh my god!
It's incredible.
Is that the punch that led to the knockout?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he gets knocked out 2 seconds later. If you can guess why, it's unbelievable.
Big giant meat club. Big meat club coming for your head.
I guess
I love the Duff,
sometimes
man.
photos are deceiving, but that's how it looked. That's how it actually looked. It wasn't like this is a weird moment.
This is not an angle where it's like he is doing exactly what you think he's doing.
Did Todd Duffee's career did it end up being a disappointment? Did it overplay what we thought, or did it end up just being exactly what it should have?
So it was definitely exactly what it should have been, but it wasn't disappointment.
That's what I feel like.
Well, because we were all idiots and we just saw this guy who looked great getting off the bus, and we were just like, oh, this was also the real thin days at heavyweight when it was like Kane, and that was it. There's just nobody was good. It's just like, okay, young guy getting off the bus, blowing the doors off Tim Hague. All right,
7 seconds, baby. 7 seconds.
like the 7-second
RIP.
KO. This big dude, and then immediately we're like, oh, actually, no, this fat cop is gonna knock him out.
On that note,
What a show. This might be the most
Shouts
random
to Mike
preview
Russo.
show. Yeah. This is the most random preview show of all time. We went all over the place. We talked the fights, but KSW Todd Duffee could be a really fun chapter in his biography down the road. So
Do you think there's a market for a Where Are They Now on Mike Russo? Because now I really want to
Yeah.
find out.
I was
Where
going to
Let's go,
say,
Shaheen.
Yes.
Shaheen, let's work on our little retrospective video on Mike Russo. I'm down. I'll start
He's
clicking.
definitely just a cop in Chicago. Also, I just learned this now. I guarantee you guys did not know this. Mike Russo fought in Pride.
No, he did not.
Yes,
did
he
not know
did.
that.
No,
he fought
nobody knew it.
Karatanov.
In
He
Japan,
fought
Pride or American
Karatanov
Pride?
in Pride.
What
It was
the
Pride
hell?
23. This is the Vegas one.
Oh, the Vegas
Yeah, that was
one.
the
All
Nate
right,
Diaz Gomez fight.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just pulled up his thing, and like in the top of his Wikipedia, it's like fought in Pride. It's like that's a lie. That cannot be true.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
What a run
Well-
here. Frank Trigg, Mizaki, Karatanov, Russo, and then you got Sokochu, Shogun, Nick Diaz, Hendo. God, what a card. What a
All right,
card.
guys.
All right, we are done. Stick around. New link.
Hit your mic.
Jake Paul, Tommy Fury preview show coming up next. Thank you.
I'm having a great time, guys.